Whew. Yeah, it's I think that pretty much sums up today's video. What's going on, Tamers? East here. It's kind of a really weird spot for Digimon, or a really weird time right now. We have this weekend the Grand Asia Open Finals happening, which is like the nationals for all of Asia. And then immediately after that tournament's done, like literally at the end of the tournament, they're releasing the updated ban list and restricted list for the Digimon card game, which will go in effect at the end of this month. So right now, if you're not in that invite-only competition, there's really not much to do. Also, we've got pretty much all of the EX10 cards revealed at this point, or at least most of them. I think by the time this video goes up, they'll all be out. I think we're just waiting on a couple cards. They just started releasing the Close and Pyramidimon line stuff today. There's not, I think it's like less than 10 cards left to be revealed. So that'll pretty much be set. So it's a really weird situation where if you're not in the running competitively for the Grand Asia Open Finals and the ban list coming soon, there's not really much of a reason to play super competitively right now. For most of the player base, again, for those folks who are qualified, of course, go ham, sweat as hard as you can, Digimon slot day and night. But for everyone else, we're kind of just chilling, kind of hanging out. I mean, I'm also in the same boat. Like, I'm going to the Grand Asia Open Finals this weekend as a spectator mostly. I did join one of the side events, which is an Ultimate Cup, and I decided to play Omnimon with most like a Nokia focused build, but I have the entire week just played DM. I've really fallen in love with the new Vademon and Vegemon and have just been going ham on that deck. The week before that, I was playing Aqua and Deep Savers stuff. So for these past 2 weeks, I feel like everyone has been pretty much kicking back and relaxing. I mentioned the past 2 weeks because last week I got into the Digimon Elysian closed beta, and that's pretty much exclusively what I did while I had it available to me, and most of the channel's content last week was focused on that. But now, we're in a little bit of catch up today and do the last 2 weeks, not 1 week, but the last 2 weeks of meta reports. That being said, let's take a look at some event results, a couple of key takeaways, and a closer look at some of the decks that topped over the course of the past 2 weeks. So as loyal channel watchers remember from our last meta report video, the Omnimon deck is probably by far the most popular deck in Asia right now, with Galaxy being a really close second. In fact, Galaxy won one of the DC1 Grand Prix to qualify for the Grand Asia Open Finals, or the Asian Nationals essentially, happening later this weekend. And alongside that, we also saw the newcomer in Gas, aka Garurumon Omnimon Alter S. This deck was made popular by Jackie over in Singapore, who won the Singapore Regionals to get a spot to qualify for the Grand Asia Open Finals happening this weekend in Singapore. And he did so in convincing fashion. But picking up into weeks 3 and 4, Galaxy is a deck that's been getting a lot of love. And I think that's for 2 reasons. The first one is the World Championship, who was a Japanese player, won the World Championship with a Galaxy deck. And so with that level of prestige, alongside the fact that the deck got new tools to explore in BT22 Cyber Eden set, feels like there's this huge wave of momentum that's kind of pushing that deck forward right now. That alongside Gallantmon, which has been seeing even more experimentation. You know, if you had told me that Guillemon Slop had not already reached its full potential, just this week on our streams, we saw a game where Digimon players were using the Cerberusmon cards as a way to extend their lethals even further. Definitely check out those stream VODs if you haven't, because the Singapore Ultimate Cup was a wild time. On the subject of Omnimon here for just a second, I don't want to harp too much on this deck because we've talked about it a lot the past 2 weeks. It feels like players are starting to settle down on a build that focuses on having the Nokia cards and the tie and mat cards in them. Even though your boy is staying resistant and playing only the CS version, it seems like having both of the best worlds is probably the way to go. Did I say that backwards? I said having the best of both. I said having the both of best worlds, didn't I? Your boy got dyslexia. It's got to be that. Neurological disease or dyslexia. I'm taking bets on which it is. Feel free to bet in the comments below. The best of both worlds is what I mean. The deck having the best of both worlds is probably the way forward. You get the idea. And so outside of that, I don't really think there's much else to talk about for the game competitively right now. With that looming ban list happening, we don't know what the world's going to look like after that, but I feel like, small little asterisk here, we are going to see some unexplored nastiness at the Grand Asia Open Finals this weekend, because the discourse has been real quiet on that subject, what people are bringing and what decks people think are strong right now. So I'm really interested to see what those matches look like. That being said, they see us all the time in the world to just kind of like sit back, chill, and try out some other wild and wacky decks in the game right now. Personally, I've been trying out, or going back to rather, the DM deck that I didn't really explore the first time around when EX9 dropped, and we got a really short lifespan for that set anyway. But with the new cards from BT22 in the Vegemon and the Vademon, I've been having a blast. People have also been trying some other crazy stuff using things like Diabortomon, LordKnightmon, some Tyrannomon builds have happened and popped up this past weekend. Puppets, Machinedramon has seen tons of different options and variations explored this past week. And for those 2D waifu enjoyers out there, a little bit of Mastemon, which we'll take a look at today. So the first deck we're going to take a closer look at today is going to be the Puppets deck, which got some love in the BT22 Cyber Eden set in the form of the new Nyanbootsmon and the Emblem card, as well as some other Digimon from that line. While this list might look incredibly expansive and really huge, maybe a little bit hard to wrap your head around, just think of this as the basic premise. Puppets always just wants to play a bunch of either tokens or bodies on the board, and then it uses those bodies as a resource either defensively or offensively. You can use lots of cards in the deck to play down tokens in the case of something like the promo Shushumon, as well as cards that play down Digimon in the case of the EX7 Chaperonemon, lots of the level 6s including the Syndromon, the Kaguyamon, and even level 7 Nyanbootsmon. From there, you can utilize them offensively using the Overclock effect, which is present on the Syndromon as well as the Nyanbootsmon, or if you have the 4-cost Arena Kinosaki Tamer on the field, you can give one of those Digimon Rush when they come down. Even more scary though, in my opinion, is the way that you can use these cards defensively. When you have something like a Kaguyamon down with a couple of really good inheritance effects and like play a Namekemon, the board becomes incredibly rigid and becomes incredibly sticky and hard to break through. Some of the inheritance effects off of things like the EX9 Honeymon at the level 3 and the Kokeshimon at the level 4 allow you to just sacrifice a token to end attacks. At the level 5s, you've got the Chaperonemon and the Karakurumon, who pretty much all have the same effect that allows you to sacrifice a puppet whenever you would leave the battle area, and you just don't leave the battle area. You've also got cards like the starter deck Junkmon, who just acts as decoy, so whenever you would be deleted, you can just prevent the deletion by sacrificing the Junkmon himself. So if you're doing the math at home, that means there's really only like 2 ways to get rid of a Kaguyamon on the board with the right inheritance effects, and that is by either de-digivolving it or DP-minusing it. And that's where the black Namekemon comes in, who is also a puppet trait, and whenever you have 3 or more security, he can prevent a Digimon from being de-digivolved, and it's DP minus for a turn. Not to mention the fact that if you try to actually force the deletion of a Kaguyamon using some effect, and when it sacrifices another token on the board, like a token or a puppet, it can then delete your lowest level Digimon on the board. And while the Kaguyamon is able to play down a puppet from your trash at the end of every one of your turns, the Nyanbootsmon at level 7 take this even further by whenever one of your puppet Digimon are deleted, he can then just play a level 4 from the trash for free, once per turn, every turn. Not to mention that, but he also gives minus 3000 DP to one of your opponent's Digimon for every Digimon you have on the board. While you pretty much got all these Digimon effects playing your puppet Digimon for you, you've also got the Tamers doing pretty much the same thing, where you've got the BT22 and promo Orisa Kinosaki Tamers letting you play Shumons for free. If you're looking for some really good swarm style gameplay with really good defense, some great offensive tools as well under your belt, definitely give the Puppets deck a try. Step aside, Sakemon lovers, because a real 2D woman is here, and that is Mastemon. Focusing on the DNA Digivolution of Anjuwomon and Lady Devimon, the new promo Mastemon gives you a lot of flexibility in plays you can make either offensively or defensively, or both at the same time. She has a widened level of disruption on Evolve that allows her to recover, and then you can take one other Digimon or Tamer on the board, yours or your opponent's, and put it on top or the bottom of their security. And then you can immediately trash your opponent's top security. This is some really clever Tamer hate by letting you put your opponent's Tamer on top of their security and then immediately trashing it. On top of that, once you evolve or attack once per turn, you can actually take the top card of your security and then trash it, and then you can play a 6000 DP or lower Digimon from your hand or trash for free. And because this deck does have access to the BT15 Gatomon, if you manage to stack her or she happens to be in your security and you trash it, you get that Digimon on the board for free. So in one play, you can get 2 Digimon, the free Gatomon and the 6000 lower DP Digimon off of the Mastemon effect in one go. Getting up 2 level 5s in the Anjuwomon and the Lady Devimon was a bit of a daunting task in the past, but now with things like the Patamon, who can evolve for free until level 4, and the Gatomon cards that essentially allow you to evolve at really cheap cost into either Lady Devimon or the Anjuwomon, you have lots of ways to get these ladies down as well. You can also utilize the Mirai Tamers as a way to play down those Lady Devimon or Anjuwomons for free, or evolve your level 4s into one of them whenever one of the other ones will be played. This list also uses the BT22 Mirai Tamer, which we've really only seen in a lot of the CS focused decks, but is worded to be used for Mastemon as well. You've got some great draw power on play. Whenever you play it down, you can discard pretty much any card in the deck at this point, and you can draw 2. And then later on, you can sacrifice her for another Mirai Tamer and play it down for free. One of the additions that I love for this deck is that you have cards like the Venusmon as a way to shut off all Digivolving effects for a single turn, which right now in the game is actually a really powerful effect. Not to mention the fact that if an opponent does actually put a Digimon out and the Venusmon sticks around for another turn, you can shut off the Digimon's when Digivolving effects continuously as long as you can play down something like the starter deck Gatomon or the EX6 Anjuwomon, spreading out those nice security attack minuses while also shutting off its effects, making it essentially a useless lump on the board. There's also some pretty cheeky text in this deck with the inclusion of things like the Shadow Seraphimon Ace as a way to evolve off of your yellow cards into a level 6 and do horrendous damage to your opponent's board, alongside the level 4 Devimon, a card you don't typically see in this deck, but because if you have a yellow tamer or Digimon on the board, he just gets rushed, so you can drop him down with like the Mastemon effect and he can just in-game. One thing I am a little bit worried about is that this list focuses a lot on the Lady Devimon who gives retaliation in Inheritance, where I would maybe want to see a little bit of protection for my Mastemon once I get down to the board to really make my opponent have to think to get rid of it. Maybe like a Lady Devimon from EX6 who gives Scapegoat would maybe be a better choice. I'll keep it a buck though, I'm not a Mastemon connoisseur, so if there's a reason why you want to keep the BT11 and BT15 Lady Devimon instead of the Scapegoat one from EX6, definitely let me know it down in the comments below. I'd love to learn a little bit more. Each week I allow my champion level and higher YouTube members to vote on decks they want to see featured in these meta report videos, and this week they voted to see LordKnightmon. If you'd like to support the channel and vote on deck that you want to see featured in these kinds of videos, as well as some other cool perks and bonuses like early access to my content and access to my stream VODs, consider becoming a YouTube member as well. Once again, I want to give a big shout out to all the folks who support the channel. I truly do appreciate it. And with that, let's take a look at LordKnightmon. Ever since the BT5 iteration of LordKnightmon, which was primarily offensive focused, a lot of the cards for the LordKnightmon and Knightmon cards in general have been really defensively oriented these past couple of sets. Most of that has taken the form of the level 5 LordKnightmon card to act as really cheap ways to play down level 5 cards while also disrupting your opponent's board with things like the Digivolve and deletion effects. However, what's been difficult the past couple of sets is taking that defensive play and then transforming it into offense the following turn by keeping your Digimon around on the board. Unfortunately, it's been really difficult to keep the LordKnightmon cards on board even after the LordKnightmon itself is deleted and you can play something from its sources, or that's one of the other Skullknightmon or Deadly Axemon cards. Enter the new BT22 Rie Kishibe card alongside the BT22 red and black LordKnightmon. At the end of the turn, the Rie Kishibe allows you to delete one of your Digimon with Knightmon in its text, aka BT10 Nene Amano, and then you can evolve her into a Knightmon immediately. The Knightmon itself gets a 3000 buff to one of your Digimon, and a Digimon can attack the player immediately. If you've got 3 security or less, you can evolve this LordKnightmon for essentially 2 cost and then make a big play. Not only that, when the LordKnightmon swings, you can open up the top 3 cards of your deck, and if there's a 4 cost card there that's black or red, you can play it immediately to the board. There's some really cool combo plays where you can swing the memory counter back onto your side to keep your turn, even at the end of your turn with the Rie Kishibe, where if you pass over only 1, you hit the Nene Amano from BT10, she gives you +2 whenever she's deleted, and then the memory tips back over to 1 on your side, and then you can attack, and you can still keep turn afterward. This is a really clever way to extend plays for the deck and keep turn, where in the past you would start with 3 memory per turn, but your LordKnightmon cards required 4 memory, so you just played them immediately and your turn was over. These new BT22 cards allow you to do that, while also swinging the memory back over to your favor and get a LordKnightmon up at the same time. From there, you've got a level 6, a level 5, and maybe a level 4 on the board depending on how your top 3 open cards look for the LordKnightmon attack, but alongside that, you've got the power play for the LordKnightmon Ace if your opponent does try to follow up that turn. This is going to let you play down another LordKnightmon, so you can see how the domino effect just keeps going once you have that one good LordKnightmon turn from the Rie Kishibe. You've also got lots of options for the Digicross for your LordKnightmons in the Skullknightmon, which I think there are 6 of in this deck, and then there's 5 copies of the Deadly Axemon, whereas your Skullknightmon Deadly Axemon that the 3 of there actually is a wild card and can count as either of them. The deck's got some good draw power at the same time with things like the Digi-Egg Monimon, the Kotemon, the Monitamon, alongside the old BT7 Deadly Axemon who can search 5 grab 2, as well as the Tamer Nene that I mentioned before. The BT10 Nene I think is so good I might actually want to increase a couple copies of her just because her getting +2 memory if she's deleted is so nice. And then finally, when you either want to close out the game or you want to make incredibly disruptive plays for your opponent, you can go into the LordKnightmon X Antibody, who's going to de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon and then prevent them from evolving for a turn. That, alongside giving all of your Digimon with Knightmon and Text Alliance alongside Collision and Piercing, make this guy incredibly destructive. And I may be getting a little bit ahead of myself here with the EX10 set, still quite a ways away, but the new LordKnightmon stuff in there might also be useful, and maybe adding in some of the Boggler trait cards as well. If you want to start getting your Knightmon reps though before the EX10 set drops, definitely give the Rie Kishibe list here a try. Setting east here, and I guess we can pretty much wrap up the week 3 and week 4 meta report for BT22. It'll be really interesting to see how the game shakes up after the ban list drops this weekend. I know a lot of folks have been asking me for what my opinion is, and honestly, I'm just happy that the game will change in some meaningful way, or hopefully it'll change in some meaningful way. But if you really want to know my opinion, EX4 Guillemon to 1, that's the Rush Guillemon. Groundmon Ice Antibody from EX8 completely banned. BT20 Omecamon to 1, or people think I'm going to be going Scorched Earth here by saying this, but BT16 Garudamon X Antibody to 1, BT17 Talmon to 1, EX1 Metal Garurumon to 1, EX8 Sakuyamon X Antibody to 1, yeah, a Scorched Earth. Alphamon or you can mode Ace from BT20 to pair band with Yggdrasil. so you can't have them together in a deck. Omnimon Alter S from the EX9 set to 1. Digivolution Plugin S from the EX2 set to 1. And Royal Knights of the Purge from BT13 to 1 as well. Kind of crazy, I know, but I think you really make some or force some meaningful changes if you have this list. I doubt it's going to be this, but I mean, a man can dream, right? Anyways, folks, I'm going to get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Also, Sage, you on the low? To be honest, I'm pretty proud of my YouTube members, because Rieki, she be kind of a baddie. I mean, she crazy, but I can save her.